StoryCon presents BackStory, a podcast featuring writers, readers, and their stories, hosted by best-selling author Jennifer A. Nielsen.
What is your unfinished business? The phone call to return, the task to check off, the writing you started but have yet to type those crucial words, the end. We all have it, that one idea that sits in the back of our heads, begging for our attention, assuring us that it would be amazing if only we had the time or the occasion to bring it to life. For this week's guest, her unfinished business was an entire book to write. This wasn't her first book, Running Out of Time, though that title is important to remember, nor was it any of her other books, nearly 50 of them, that she wrote over the following 25 years. Before becoming an author, Margaret was a newspaper reporter. One day, she went out to visit and interview the historic reenactors at Conner Prairie, an Indiana tourist attraction. The workers there dressed in early 1800s clothing and spent their days going about the tasks of an early 1800s frontier village and answered questions from tourists as if they truly were from that era. After talking to blacksmiths and weavers, Margaret encountered a woman in a primitive kitchen. As they talked, the woman told Margaret that on the slower days and in the quieter moments, she almost forgot what year she was really living in. That, there, in that place, it was practically impossible to believe she was in the past. What if, thought Margaret, what if? Those famous two words at the core of creativity. What if this wasn't just a newspaper story? What if this was a book? That thought stayed with Margaret, working through her mind, growing and expanding like all wonderful ideas do, until it became her debut novel, Running Out of Time. This is the riveting story of a girl who has grown up believing she is living in a small Indiana village in the 1840s. But when a threat comes to her village, Jessie must embark on a quest to get her friends and family the help they need. And in doing so, she discovers that nearly everything about her life was a lie, including the biggest of all. The year is not 1840. The book was a tremendous success. It launched Margaret's career. Since then, she has written suspense, mysteries, drama, sci-fi, dystopian fiction, and fairy tale reimaginings. Her name is synonymous with fast-paced, high-stakes stories that are sometimes chilling, but always thrilling. And yet, something always nagged at her. Unfinished business. It was a story, still incomplete, which lingered in her mind, always slightly out of reach, and always leaving her without an answer to the question she was so often asked by her fans. What happens to Jessie after the book ends? At first, Margaret tried to explain, both to readers and to herself, that Jessie's story was finished, that nothing more remained to be written. Yet there was, only she couldn't quite put a finger on it. The creative mind is an incredible thing. It rarely works on demand, but give it the right ingredients of time, curiosity, and thought, and it can produce wonders. For Margaret, that recipe came together during COVID. These unfinished questions about Jessie suddenly made sense in a way they never had before. The answer was as simple as Margaret looking for the story in a different place than she had ever before considered. 28 years after the publication of Running Out of Time, Margaret Peterson Haddix released the companion novel, Falling Out of Time. It is every bit as extraordinary as her debut novel and as all of her novels. At last, the unfinished questions could be put to rest, though I'm sure other new ones have since emerged, namely, what happens to Zola next? Well, Margaret considers that. I hope you will think of your own unfinished business. So return the phone call, check off that task, and remember how important your own story is. The story with the beautiful ending yet to be written. Go back to it. Pour your heart into it until one day you too will type those crucial words, the end.
Thank you for listening to BackStory. If you'd like to enjoy more episodes, visit us at storycon.org/backstory. That's STORYCON.org/backstory. BackStory is brought to you by StoryCon. StoryCon is the evolution of Teen Author Boot Camp, the largest combined writing camp and fan expo in the Intermountain West. Join us on February 21st and 22nd, 2025 at the Salt Palace Convention Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. The event will feature keynote speeches and masterclasses from internationally best-selling authors like Jeff Kinney, Neil Shusterman, Shannon Hale, Marissa Meyer, and many more. Other activities include an exhibitor hall that's free to the public, writing contests, and the Operation Literacy Awards Gala. Visit storycon.org today to register. That's STORYCON.org. Hurry, masterclasses have limited space.